And good morning. Welcome to another Coffee with EMCSA session. My name is Rob Walker. I am the event director and host of EMCSA, and I'm joined today by four wonderful gentlemen from the company called AMPECO. I am joined by Orlin and Stefan, and I'm joined by Baicho as well. And yeah, gentlemen, thank you very much for taking the time to join us this morning. It's great to have you guys on board. Orlin, maybe you can give us a quick debrief of what it is that AMPECO does.
Yeah, Robert, thank you for having us. AMPECO is a software company, and our mission is to enable companies who want to venture into EV charging to be able to launch and scale an EV charging business, and our product would support them to operate this business.
Fantastic. And we've obviously on the call with us, we got Stefan. You are the Chief Revenue Officer. Talk us through a little bit of your job at AMPECO.
Sure. First of all, hello everyone, and I'm happy to be joining you and your listeners. So I'm basically responsible for making sure that we are servicing the clients the best way possible, from let's say, identifying the clients through going through a pre-sales process where we showcase our product, we discuss with them the business models, and we pretty much mutually and we work together in finding the best solution for them. And when this is defined, then we sign a contract, and we just help them be successful in the EV charging business.
Fantastic. And last but not least, Baicho, your kind of role within the business.
Robert, I don't think Baicho was prepared to participate in the conversation.
Oh, my apologies.
If you need, we can then do a new intro where we don't introduce him.
Fantastic. So my apologies for that. Right, Orlin. So very interesting. I mean, obviously the buyer, you guys provide a white label system. Most companies that we know go into the e-charging space, they tend to come in with their own solution and saying that they've customized themselves. Where do you guys see the gap in providing almost a pre-ready solution? I mean, that's quite a unique model that you guys are coming with. You're saying, here's the answer, here's the software, here's the solution, we're providing it to you as white label. That's a very unique point of view. Where did this idea come from?
Well, in the e-mobility sector, I mean, we are at a point where the sector is developing quite rapidly at the moment, but also at the same time, you have the fact that the business models are still forming, and things are running in a very fast pace. And I mean, if you decide to develop your own solution to service your business needs, you're risking to be late to the market just because of the time that you need to actually do the work, but also you're missing out on the best on the use cases that have been already covered, and people have found out what works and what not. So we are combining the knowledge that we get from all the customers that are using our solution, and we are accelerating the go-to-market, and we are bringing the good experience and business models that we know into a solution that you can get as an off-the-shelf solution and build on top of it, either by just exploring more of the functionality that comes built in, or by even expanding the functionalities through APIs, which we also offer.
So in essence, what we're doing here is if I can just maybe reference it to what people understand, it's like open source code where there's lots of people utilizing the system, everyone's adapting and making it better the whole time, and that allows it to speed up the kind of the time to market, because it's not one person working on their own trying to figure things out as they go along. Am I kind of correct in mentioning that?
Well, to some degree, but the difference being that it's not a community-developed solution. It's entirely developed by our company, but we do source the experience and use cases that we see in different markets, combine these and build functionalities and build a system that can cover a lot of these use cases. And when you start an EV charging, say, in certain parts of the world, you want to be able to do what already works, but also to be able to explore new business opportunities and new business models. And a ready-to-use solution that already has covered a lot of these first accelerates your time to market, and also allows you to start without a huge investment in the beginning, because you pay for what you use and you grow with the solution grows with you. So this model works very well to bring the initial cost of the initial investment low, and at the same time gives you the full-fledged functionality that you allow you to really be able to offer a very compelling solution service to your customers.
Fantastic. And Stefan, let's talk about, I mean, the contracting of such a solution. I mean, that must be, it must be quite complex, because you've got, small role players who are coming in, maybe, as Orlin said, they're starting small. You've got to be able to look, where they are now, and then you've got to be able to contract for what we anticipate to be the massive growth curve coming in the next 5 to 10 years. So Stefan, how do you build that in from a contracting point of view?
Well, actually, it's pretty simple. Our software is offered as a software as a service, which means you pretty much have no hassle of thinking about hosting, backups, constant updates, uptimes, constantly developing the platform to cover the new business models and the new technologies that are coming to the market. So honestly, it's pretty simple for our customer, and also it's I would say usage based in a way. It's priced by the number of charge points that you operate, which is something our clients really like, because they don't need to put all the upfront costs of, let's say, developing your own solution, which quite often could take at least a year. Actually, with us, they're up and running in less than a month, which is crucial in today's market because everybody's racing now. And especially we have a lot of clients they got the money from the investor. It's all about push, push, push. You need to be there in a month or even less if possible to have your brand out. So they actually can, with a very small initial investment, they can be up and running in a month, and then they pay as they grow, right? So if it's one thing if you have like 50, 100 chargers, it's another thing if it's 1,000, but it's all tied to your growth. Like, so you don't feel like, okay, I need to pay a lot and I'm not sure this is going to work for me. And that's a model, again, very well received by our clients.
All right, so let's chat a bit. Obviously, the company operates on a lot of different continents, different countries, as it were. How does that affect your? Do you guys see the model being the same, regardless of whether it's here in South Africa, Australia, Europe? Is the model the same everywhere that that a lot of people talk about, or are there uniquenesses depending on where you're operating geographically? I mean, are you seeing different things in different regions where you guys operate?
Yeah, for sure, the model is not really the same. There are different models, but even in neighboring countries or even in the same country, you would see different companies taking a different approach to the EV charging service that they want to provide. And this is where a lot of the value that we create, this is where the value is, where we create different functionalities, and we cover different use cases that you can combine. You can draw even inspiration from what others are doing and apply some of them, but modify to your local market specifics. There are some things that are you see across even in different continents. That's pretty much the same. You see actors such as location hosts, like usually these are businesses who would supply a location to be to host a charging station, and often an operator or any company that's going into EV charging has to account for how do I manage my relationship with these companies. Are they my customers, where they buy a charging station from me and I offer them additional valid services like being able to accept payments and define access control, or are they in a way my customers, where I actually pay them for being able to host this charging station there, for example. So these different use cases that need to be covered. The similarities are there, but there are also things that differ from one market to another. And so we try to combine the experience that we have from working in different markets, so that we can bring up the opportunity to choose your own model, the one that fits not only your local market specifics, but also the niche that you want to actually enter as a business.
Fantastic. And let's talk about, I mean, let's talk about a South African local context. Stefan, let's talk about maybe from a revenue point of view. Obviously, EVs in South Africa are slowly getting more and more spoken about. We're seeing the trend coming. Where do you guys see the next? Let me pose this question. Maybe let me phrase it another way. Where do we see the next 12 months, and then the next 3 years, and then the next 5 years in a South African perspective? Stefan, let's start with you. I mean, obviously, everything comes down to rands and cents at the end of the day. What are you guys projecting, for South Africa in the next year, so to speak?
Yeah, so what I can say is because we work worldwide, so we have clients in a very well-developed markets in a way, like the Netherlands, Scandinavia, where things been rolling, let's say, for the past 5-7 years, even more. And we also have a lot of customers for what we say is emerging markets, like the Middle East, for example, APAC, even Australia, for example, Brazil. And the thing, it's interesting because we see the same trends that happened in the Netherlands or Western Europe happening in other countries, but maybe a little bit more accelerated, just because you have the models that you can see from Western Europe or US, not so much, but yeah, there's areas there like California, NYC, where things are really developing as well. So you have these models, and you can actually project what will happen in the different countries. So there is actually 2 or 3 things that are driving this process in a country, and still the first one is government support, because wherever the government really stands behind the whole thing, it's starting to roll much faster. Quite often this is included with some incentives like reduced tax rates, or even subsidizing the purchase of the vehicle or the purchase of the installation of the charge point. This is one thing. The second thing is, I would say, availability of models of cars, right? And I know in South Africa, this hasn't been that, let's say, it's not the best yet, but it's coming pretty rapidly now with the new models from Hyundai, from Volkswagen. And these are all models that are becoming much more accessible, right? And at a lower price. So when these things start to happen, we're seeing an exponential curve of growth. And from what I know about the South African market, you're definitely getting there. I mean, I expect that this market will be growing like at least double every year, just because, of course, you're starting from a relatively low base, but it might be even triples or more. So definitely we'll see that, and that's why I would say to everybody who is thinking about whether I should go into the EV charging business, definitely do it. Definitely do it now, because it's important to get your brand out there. I mean, the revenues might not come right away, so you need a little bit of a, let's say, investment money to make sure that you can cross this period where you won't be able to have a positive cash flow. But we see these patterns in the Netherlands and Western Europe. A lot of the companies that were 5 years ago in the market, now they're like here, because everybody knows you, and when the tide comes, you're the one who are attracting a big portion of this demand that will happen sooner, I would say, rather than later now.
Yeah, if I can add here to specifically to the South African market, I mean, you're seeing this where the electric vehicles at the moment are like they're expensive, so they're not really being able to penetrate the markets so quickly. But this is something that is going to happen, and I know that with the updated nationally determined contribution with regards to the Paris Agreement, I mean, steps are being made on the government level to accelerate the efforts in environment protection and going to net zero economy in general. But what you have to imagine about even EV charging is like this: we are at a point where previously in Europe you didn't have the cars on the market to really ramp up. Now the different the models are there. There are different models from different manufacturers. I know that in South Africa, but BMW manufactures the X3 locally, so I guess the iX3, when it comes to market later this year, would probably be quite popular to early adopters of electric cars. And the thing is that cars will go, will get on the road faster than the EV charging infrastructure can be built. So the time to really invest into EV charging, to position yourself into this sector, it's really now, because when the car starts getting on the road, there will be a lack of infrastructure if it hasn't built before it.
I think that's really interesting because one of the things that came out from our EMCSA in March this year was this concern around infrastructure and the perception of a lack of infrastructure. And I suppose in a country, Stefan, you mentioned like Australia, we compare South Africa to Australia quite a lot, and that there's vast different distances between the kind of the towns and the cities, and people are traveling. It's not uncommon for people to travel 500-600 kilometers between places. So Olin, if I'm hearing what you're saying as somebody who's an entrepreneur in his own right, you're saying that in the next 12 months, those who are thinking of getting into the charging or the infrastructure space, now's the time. In the next 12 months, before all those new models, the iX, iX3, those types of models all start hitting South African shores. Is that what you're saying to anyone out there?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying, because the customers will be there in 12 months, and the number of cars will grow much faster than you can actually grow the infrastructure. So you have to be ready for this. You have to prepare and be earlier to the market than what the usual perception is. Because the infrastructure takes more time to build than to sell cars. The importing and selling cars, manufacturing cars, this happens much faster. And the adoption of electric cars will happen much faster than it's possible to ramp up the infrastructure. So now is the time to go into that.
Well, look, I mean, I think that echoes what we all heard a couple of weeks ago, at our EMCSA event, and as we're now working towards the next one. So as we draw to a close, gentlemen, I mean, we obviously, there's lots of people out there who are expecting this tidal wave of EVs to come, and Stefan, you've spoken about places like the Netherlands where, EVs are now in the top selling 5 vehicle, top 5 of the country. How do guys get in touch with AMPECO? I mean, if I'm now listening to this and I'm sitting in South Africa thinking I would like to, start small, maybe put charging infrastructure just around my small town in South Africa, or I see an opportunity to put some charging units on the highway. How do I get in touch with you guys?
So the best way is to go to our website, which is ampeco.global. And there is a way to just even schedule consultation if you're even not sure how you want to approach the business. And one of our knowledgeable consultants will get on a call with you. Or the other way is you just request a demo and we show you the platform, we discuss your ideas. And what I can say is a little bit different from maybe some of our competitors is that we have a very consultative approach to the whole thing. And as Orlin said, it's not just the software, it's all about the knowledge that we accumulate. And we are even consulting some big names. Unfortunately, I cannot share due to NDAs about it. That's something that you'll benefit a lot if you just talk with us. I mean, you might not start right away, but it's always good to have some ideas. What are the possibilities? To have some ideas about potential business models. And then it's up to you and, let's say, the resources you can acquire, how fast you want to run. But as I said, ampeco.global is the best way to start. Or I guess you can also share our LinkedIn profiles with me and Olin, and we are pretty open, active there. So if you're on LinkedIn, feel free to reach out there and connect as well.
Fantastic. And Olin, any closing thoughts from yourself? I mean, I'm sure we got a couple of people looking at this thinking, maybe it's time to get into the charging game. I mean, if you're looking at the wave of cars coming in the next 12 months, any final thoughts? I mean, AMPECO sounds great. I mean, you get to tap into global resources, global knowledge, you hit the ground running. Closing thoughts from your side as an entrepreneur and the founder of AMPECO.
Well, I certainly see this as the right time and the right place to be in the EV charging business, especially in emerging markets where there is still room to position yourself to navigate the growth of the market and be part of it. We've seen companies for 1 year going from 0 to 20 something million valuation just by combining the right software with the right charging hardware and offering a service in their local market. And I can see this happening in South Africa in the next 12 to 24 months for sure. So consider that.
Fantastic. Well, gents, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for taking some time out of your Wednesday and talking to us. It does sound like you guys offer a really interesting, unique solution, something that I think that a lot of entrepreneurs, people who want to start small will be interested in, because we avoid all those massive, costs of initial investment. So yeah, it's a great product, and it sounds very, very interesting. And hopefully we can have you join our main EMCSA event in March next year, and you can share hopefully some local success stories of companies in South Africa who've paved the way. But for myself, Rob, and the whole EMCSA team, thank you very much, gents. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, Robert. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks, Robert. Feel free to
Fantastic.
invite us to your event as well.
We will.